AITA for sharing an embarrassing story about my brother? Asshole, right, so me, M27, and my brothers, one is M24, other is M25 live in the same city as our other brother Todd, M20. Todd is pretty much the only brother relevant to this story. Todd goes to college here in the city, whilst the rest of us work here. One thing to note is that we often call Todd Ploppy, and I'll explain later in the post. Todd has always been the black sheep of the family. Whilst the rest of us were good kids, good grades, great friends, responsible, Todd was always the run of the litter in most senses. Not that we don't love him, it's just the first thing that comes to mind when we think about him. Throughout our lives, our family's always been the kind with which teachers go, hey, those kids, I taught every one of them, bright as they come, and other kids go, seriously though, I really like that family, they're so smart, and funny. Todd was pretty much the opposite of all of this. He was the loud, obnoxious kid. The kind who'd horn in on jokes, and try and grab attention for himself. He never reached teachers' expectations in class, or in terms of grades, and people always found him annoying. We tried to include him in brother things, but the age gap between us, along with his immaturity in his younger years, made it hard to connect like we were equals. Recently, through university, Todd was reinventing himself. He had gotten into a decent uni, and had taken on a more quiet, brooding personality. He puts a lot more thought into his movements and sentences in social situations, and it was really working, and we were all super happy for him. He'd even gotten a girlfriend. Now, here's where we messed up, and are worried we're assholes. Todd recently brought his GF over to my house and we got to know her. At one point she asked us for some funny childhood stories, and asked the story around the nickname Ploppy. The story was back when Todd was 6, and he was running around the house without his pants, saying it was hot. At one point he knocked over a table which had glass, so our parents had to go and clean that up and make sure none of us stepped on it, rather than get Todd to wear his pants. Whilst we were watching Todd, he suddenly got a worried look in his eyes, said oh, plop, and not a second later, shit on the floor. It was really disgusting, but we'll forever remember the look on Todd's face right before it happened. We told our 10-year-old brother, and our parents, who after cleaning it up found it hilarious, someone began calling him Ploppy. We tried to not let it stick, but it just ended up becoming his nickname. We told his GF that story, and he was furious, and she was looking uncomfortable. He stormed out soon after, calling us judgmental assholes, and his GF left after. We got a call from him saying, thanks, my girlfriend dumped me because of you fuckers, I'll never be one of you, will I? We all feel bad about it, and we've called him to apologize, but he never picks up. AITA, or are we the assholes? AITA for teaching a woman about boundaries by lying about a serious medical condition in order to get her to stop touching me without my consent? When I told my coworkers at my new job the story, some thought it was too far, but I thought it was fair. I, 25F, worked most recently at Macy's before my current job. I enjoyed it fairly well, as most of the people were pleasant to work with, and while people usually turn the aisles into a dumping ground during holiday season, it was pretty decent and people were sweet otherwise. Anyway, one day I'm clearing out the fitting rooms and sorting things to be put away when out of nowhere this woman comes up to me, no introduction, no hello, how are you, or even an attempt to pretend she needed help with something, and she laid a hand on my stomach with the biggest *T-eating grin on her face and asked me how far along I was, as if to ask if I was freaking pregnant. I blinked at her slowly 5 times like she was a freaking alien, and inhaled deeply to control my rage just seething beneath the surface, and in that moment I decided to teach her a lesson she would never forget. I told her the following at point blank, ma'am, I am not pregnant. Not even close. While childhood me would love to have little kids someday, I can't because my doctor has located a uterine tumor the size of a baseball and I'm waiting for blood work and test results so my surgeon can determine if I'm a good candidate for a procedure to remove it. Now, is there anything I can help you find in the store, or do you need more details about my personal health care? Her hand recoiled from my belly faster than when you accidentally burn your hand on a curling iron while rushing to curl your hair 10 minutes before you walk out the door, and her face turned about 50 shades of gray. Her mouth opened and closed like a washed-up fish searching for water before she stammered out a shaky, barely whispered sorry. She then dropped her merch on the floor, turned on her heel and speed walked out the door just as my manager was coming around the corner to check on my progress in the fitting rooms. When questioned about the lady's sudden retreat, I said she had a family emergency and had to leave immediately and didn't give me her contact info to hold onto her merch. Oh well, guess she could kiss that brand new Michael Kors bag goodbye. In any case, I think it's one of the best responses I could have given her, considering I was very tempted to slap her for her pure entitlement and disrespect. Instead of getting verbally beaten to a pulp or called names, she got the lesson of a lifetime, and a moment filled with such embarrassment that she'll think twice any time she sees a well-endowed lady. My body is mine and no one else's, and even if I were pregnant, being pregnant does not make others automatically entitled to touch you. I am 5 feet 3 inches, and 170 pounds, and my stubborn fat was caused by meds I was given after I was given a misdiagnosis. That's a story for another day. So the fact that my fat is due to a medical reason was technically true. I just exaggerated it to make a point. Regardless, my point is that boundaries still exist, no matter what the situation. Still, I know some people might disagree with my methods. So AITA? AITA for enforcing my boundaries? Not the asshole. So the story to this has a pretty long lead up, so like, see my post history, but the TLDR is my 28F, FDH/fiancé's 27M, family has always treated both of us like shit and are fairly toxic. I am banned from their house, so they are banned from mine until I have received an apology. Over a year and a pinch ago, before COVID, I was banned from my future in-laws' house. The reason I was banned can be found in my post history as well, but they essentially decided that they were buying a house in a place we didn't want to live in, far away from our jobs, and also my name would not be on the mortgage, but I would be expected to make payments towards it. I said how about no, and the ban began. My FDH began spending most of his time where I lived with my uncle. We decided to buy a house last fall and found a townhouse and bought it. Through this entire process I held the firm boundary that they would not be welcome in my house or my life until his parents apologized to me. His dad offered me a non-apology/olive branch when I was outside their house, waiting in my car for FDH, a couple weeks ago, and then attempted to coerce me into initiating my own apology, and I made it clear this was not an apology. I still needed an apology. FDH mentioned having his dad come over to help install outlets in our garage, and I said, sure, once he apologizes. FDH says I didn't say this, but I know I did. He dropped on me today as he was driving home from work, and I was still at work, that his dad is coming over tomorrow to help with the outlets. I was at work and I'm shocked, so I gave a non-answer, and then another call came in at work and I had to take it. I texted him when I got off work that I am not comfortable with his dad coming over since he hasn't apologized, and if his dad would like to come by tonight to apologize and talk, then that was fine. FDH is now very angry with me. We tried to talk on the phone as I was driving from work to therapy. He says he doesn't want to push the issue and is on a deadline for this project, even though it's a self-imposed deadline and is irrelevant. I explained to him that I have two options. I can protect myself and hold my boundaries firm and risk our relationship and leave him if he decides to ignore my boundaries, or I can roll over belly up and allow someone who has helped emotionally abuse me into my house, my safe space, without repercussion. Am I the asshole for enforcing my boundaries, or are my boundaries unfair? AITA for enforcing boundaries between my family and myself? Not the a-hole. I, 27F, am at a loss right now, and it's going to be a long post. I am considered to be the eldest in my family. I have always tried to be a good daughter. I got good grades in school, kept my nose clean as much as possible, but due to my younger half-sister, 24F, and her mental health issues, I often got looked over, with my mom telling me, I raised you to be strong, so be the strong one. Looking back on my childhood, I've seen a lot of troubling things in my life that I did not see before, like my younger sister getting to be on sports team and multiple extracurricular activities, while I was told we did not have enough money to do so. Whenever my sister wanted to do something, my parents made it happen. Special birthday parties at bowling alleys, skating rinks with lots of friends. I was lucky to have a small party thrown by my family. The rare chance I did get to do something I enjoyed, like singing, my sister joined in and my parents acted like she was the next American Idol, while telling me music isn't for you, you're tone deaf, so just sing to yourself. I also began working at 16, and my parents began asking me for financial support, to which I immediately supplied. My stepdad is a vicious functioning alcoholic and my mother enables him. He's sick. You don't understand what he went through as a child. He drinks on the job, while he drives. He didn't even sit through my high school graduation because he didn't have a drink. But he sat through my younger sister's completely sober. His drinking has progressively gotten worse over the years, to the point where he calls me ungrateful, and he even tried to pull my shirt off in a public parking lot because he didn't like what it said. I was 26. I have a very loving, supportive boyfriend who has a lovely family who treats me better than my own, and as a result I have seen how poorly I was treated over the years. And my boyfriend is treated awful by my family because he's stealing me away. My parents are mad because I am calling less, visiting less, and just telling them less about my life. Recently my mom and sister concocted an elaborate story regarding her being evicted because they thought it would be funny to see if I cared. AITA for wanting this distance from my family? Every time I try to tell them that they can't talk to me with disrespect or establish boundaries, I get verbally berated and told I'm letting down my family, even so far as being told I won't have a father to walk me down the aisle. AITA for trying to set boundaries? Not the a-hole. I, 30 years old, first-time mom, had my son back in February. He's the first child in my husband's family in 30 years. My in-laws are a little crazy about it. It started out okay with my MIL only commenting that I was huge a few times. Annoying, but I'll live. We made it to the hospital to deliver him, narrowly missing having to be induced. My first request was that no one visit me while I was in labor. Who shows up? Mill, Phil, Sil. Had to run them out of the room to get my epidural. But it's fine. No big deal. My second request was that the first family member to meet my son would be my dad. Who shows up first? MIL and FIL. Everyone is excited. I get it. We brought him home. My MIL came to my house unannounced when I was 3 days postpartum, walked in and said, I'm just gonna take him from you, and snatched him from me. Yikes, but alright. She then proceeded to do this for 13 days straight. Told my husband I'd like her to stop and he blew up at me. Said he'd hoped I'd gotten past my weird problem with his mom. I reiterated I didn't mind if she came over, I just wish she would call first and not take my son from me. He was still upset with me but eventually told her not to return the next day. When we visit my in-laws, she immediately wanted my son and wouldn't return him to me no matter how upset he got, which led to me not wanting to visit. My husband told me I was being petty and punishing her. Maybe I am the problem in the situation. Eventually I had to return to work. I wanted my parents to keep my son the first time. That hurt my feelings. My husband got mad and yelled at me that I didn't trust her. So I let her watch him the next time. I wasn't trying to be hard to deal with. About 2 weeks later, I let her watch my son again. My husband picked him up and when I got home he was excitedly telling me that she'd purchased our son a sit-me-up chair and tried it out. I paused. I had specified I didn't want my in-laws buying baby gear without getting my opinion first because I personally didn't want to use a sit-me-up chair. So, I reminded my husband and asked him to tell her not to use the chair again. He spent the next few hours telling me I was crazy and putting too many rules in place. That I should trust his mom and stop worrying so much. How was she supposed to know our son wasn't old enough to use the chair? But he called his dad and asked them to stop using it even though he wasn't sure why they couldn't. Their response was that they'd bought a bunch of baby gear and toys from a distant family member and just wanted to try it. So, not only did they disrespect my boundary with the chair, they bought an entire room full that my husband knew about and didn't tell me. I asked him why he kept it from me and he said he knew I'd overreact. TLDR, every time I set a boundary for my in-laws my husband tells me I'm being mean and now I'm second-guessing myself. This made me feel so insane that I went and got my OB to prescribe me antidepressants, but AITA? AITA for trying to set a boundary with my little sister after she opened my birthday present? Not the a-hole, 23F, little sister is 13F. I live back and forth between my mom's and my dad's house. All of my siblings are half-siblings on my dad's side. I love my little sister but lately I've been getting annoyed about certain boundaries she crosses. She's obsessed with face cream, hand cream, body spray, perfume, any hair products that smell good, lip gloss/balm. She has a very big collection of all these things. I once sat and counted how many lip stuff she has accumulated over the years and I counted 37. Despite having tons of her own, she always asks to borrow mine and often ends up using up the entire thing. One of my perfumes was almost completely used up because she would spray it at least 20 times every time she used it. She gets upset if I don't share my stuff with her. For example, I got a body mist from Bath & Body Works recently because I love the smell. I decided to leave it at my mom's house. My sister saw it in the background during a FaceTime and said, "Oh, that looks like it smells good. Can you bring it the next time you come here?" And I jokingly said something along the lines of, "I think we've got more than enough perfumes at Dad's," and she was visibly upset. I'm quite a patient person so I brush all of this off. BC, she's my little sister and that's just what siblings do, right? But this recent situation has really upset me and I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. So, it was my birthday on Tuesday. I went to my dad's to celebrate after work. When I sat down to open presents I noticed that all of them were intact except one, of which the packaging had been ripped open and the contents removed. Weird. So I asked my little sister what happened and she told me that it was one of my brother's gifts to me, a set that included hand cream, a nail file, a nail/cuticle oil, and a little nail clipper, and she really wanted to try it and couldn't wait for me to open it so she decided to go ahead and open it herself and try everything out. Half the hand cream had been squeezed out of the tube, the nail file was used because it had those telltale scratches on it, and the small nail/cuticle oil bottle wasn't closed properly so it was also opened. I understand that, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a big deal, but it made me sad that she had just gone and opened my gift like that without even thinking to consult me first. I said to her, verbatim, "You need to stop thinking all of my things are automatically yours too." Her mom taught her that everything that belongs to your siblings also belongs to you. Her philosophy, siblings share everything. So, setting a boundary is very difficult. My sister got mad because I never share my things with her anymore and am purposely leaving some of my stuff at my mom's place to avoid her using them. Her mom called me quite selfish for belittling my own sister for wanting to be closer to me by borrowing my things. AITA? WIBTA if I continue to be harsh about these boundaries? AITA for enforcing a hard boundary with my boyfriend's mom after she insulted my hair and invalidated his trauma? I, 31F, have been with my boyfriend, 28M, for a while now. We do not live together, and I am fully financially independent. I don't rely on his income at all. In my opinion, we haven't been together long enough for me to feel obligated to put up with toxic family members when I really don't want to. The main issue is his mother, 55F. I generally do not like being around her. I set a boundary in the past that I didn't want to see her, but my boyfriend always insists. I recently agreed to try seeing her once a month to keep the peace. The background: she has a history of being terrible to his romantic partners. With me specifically, she talks bad about me behind my back and constantly assumes the worst. A few examples regarding my employment history: I quit a job I was miserable at, after being a loyal employee for 5 years, and she told people I was irresponsible. I got laid off from a different job, and she said, "Oh, now she can't hold a job." I currently work at a vape store selling nicotine vapes. She tells people, "Oh, now she sells pot." I do not. The incident last night was my once-a-month compromise. We went to dinner, and it was a disaster from the start. The seating, we sat in a horseshoe booth. She insisted on sitting in the middle because she didn't want to feel like a third wheel. The weirdness, she kept trying to get him to feed her bites of his food, which made me extremely uncomfortable. The hypocrisy, she started complaining about things her parents did to her. She mentioned her therapist told her that admittance is the first step to letting go. My boyfriend quietly chimed in and said, "Oh, like what you did to me?" regarding his own trauma. The denial, she immediately switched up and said, "You're exaggerating, I don't remember that." I was fuming at the invalidation, so I went to the bathroom to cool off. The climax when I came back to the table, she leaned over to me and whispered, "Isn't your hair for black people?" I am at my breaking point. I tried to compromise, but between the weird behavior with her son, the gaslighting about his childhood, and the racist/ignorant comment about my hair, I don't want to be around her at all. Since I'm not dependent on him and we don't live together, I feel I have the right to just opt out of this relationship with his mother entirely. AITA for refusing to see her anymore, even though my boyfriend wants me to? AITA for setting boundaries with my wife's family when she thinks I'm being unreasonable? Not the a-hole. I, 33M, and my wife Jennifer, 32F, have been together 8 years, married for 5, and have 2 kids. We recently moved into a house we've been slowly fixing up. Her extended family has a very open-door culture. They come and go as they please, often without notice. Her grandparents even walk in unannounced, knock on the wall, and call out after they've entered. This makes me uncomfortable. I'm a private person who values alone time, especially because I like to relax at home in the nude, which Jennifer knows and normally respects. I've told her clearly that I need notice before anyone visits. Otherwise, I feel overwhelmed and like my space is being violated. This past weekend, Jennifer took the kids and her cousin on a short day trip. I was excited for some rare alone time. I told her I plan to sunbathe and play video games. Our yard is fully private, so being naked outside is not an issue. As I opened the door to head out, I saw someone moving in the yard. It was Jennifer's dad, dressed for work and carrying tools and lumber. Without informing me, he had come over to build a protective cover for our heat pump, a project I had already started. I had previously told him I wanted to handle the work myself so I could learn, though I appreciated his advice. He had agreed. But now, he proudly told me, "I put this together last night," showing a frame he'd already assembled, then said, "Put some clothes on and let's get started." I was stunned, totally naked and shocked he was even there. I went inside and called Jennifer. She said, "Yeah," he asked if he could come help, and I said it was fine, but I told him to call you first. So, she gave him the green light without checking with me, and he never called. My solo day turned into a project day, and I felt awkward saying no. I also feel like Jennifer never really gives me the chance to learn by doing. Her dad always ends up taking over, and I suspect she asks him because she doubts my skills. I suck at building things, but I want to learn. I told Jennifer how upset I was. My privacy was invaded, and my boundaries ignored. She got annoyed and said I was being ungrateful. When I asked her how she'd feel if my dad showed up while she was topless and I hadn't told her, she just said, "That's different. I'm a woman." I've now told her I want to ask her family to stop coming by unannounced. She's pissed, saying I'm overreacting and making them feel unwelcome. But I don't think I'm being ungrateful, I just want my personal space respected. I now find myself peeking around corners in my own home, never sure if someone's randomly shown up again. So, Reddit AITA for setting boundaries with my wife's family that she doesn't agree with. AITA for setting some boundaries in our home for visitors' kids. Not the a-hole, so this issue has been going on for a few years now, and I'll try to keep it short. My partner and I, who are both in our early 30s, don't have kids. But both of us have nieces and nephews that we like spending time with. We also have very different relationships with our siblings. While the issues have arisen in the handful of times my partner's nieces have visited us. Even though we don't have kids, we still have kid-friendly art supplies, e.g., markers, coloring books, toys and so on, so that the kids feel welcome. My partner's sibling has announced that they don't wish to visit us anymore because their kids, 4 and 7, can't be free and they, the parents, must constantly keep an eye on them. Because of the following, once they accidentally drew on our table, and I said something like, "That's what can happen, let's get it cleaned up and just be a bit more careful." They have jumped on our sofa, where I had asked them not to do that, and explained that they can get hurt. Ran around the house with a drinking glass, real glass, in their hand, where I told them to be careful or to leave the glass, and then run. I would like to note that the parents saw these things happen and didn't say anything. And that I only commented after, they stayed silent. They have said to my partner that my controlling behavior and need for perfection is annoying, and that we can't expect our home to be perfect if we have kids one day. I've been very upset with their view on me and our home, and it has affected my partner a great deal. Note, I have the same behavior when New York nieces and nephew are here. So I need an outside perspective. Am I the asshole? AITA for setting boundaries with my sister and her husband during her pregnancy? Not the a-hole, my sister, 33F, and I, 31M, are very close, but we have always had a somewhat contentious relationship. She has always been very controlling and demanding, and I have always been more laid back and easygoing. We have always been able to work things out, but this time I think I may have crossed a line. A few weeks ago, my sister asked me to watch her kids for the weekend while she and her husband went on a trip. I agreed, and I was looking forward to spending some quality time with my nieces and nephew. But then, the day before my sister was supposed to leave, she called me in a panic and told me that she had just found out she was pregnant and couldn't travel. She and her husband decided to cancel their trip. However, they still wanted me to watch the kids for the week, as they didn't have anyone else available to help. I was shocked and a little annoyed, but I agreed to take care of the kids for another week. My sister seemed really grateful and thanked me profusely. But then, things started to go downhill. My sister and her husband were constantly texting and calling me to check on the kids and make sure everything was okay. They were just concerned and wanted to make sure the kids were safe and well taken care of, but it was really starting to stress me out. I tried to be understanding, considering my sister's pregnancy, but it was just too much. To make matters worse, my sister's husband is a bit of a neat freak and has always had very strict rules about how the house should be kept. I'm more of a free spirit and don't really care about things being perfectly clean and tidy. But my sister's husband was constantly texting me about every little thing, from the toys not being put away to the dishes not being washed. It was driving me insane. Finally, after a week of this, I snapped. I told my sister that I couldn't take it anymore and that she needed to trust me to take care of her kids. I also told her that her husband needed to relax and stop micromanaging every little thing in the house. But then, in a fit of anger, I also told her that I couldn't believe she was making me do all this work for free. I said that I was tired of always being the one to help out and that I deserved to be paid for my time and efforts. However, I want to clarify that the demand for payment was mostly out of anger and not something I actually expected or wanted. Needless to say, my sister was not happy. She accused me of being selfish and not caring about her or the kids. We haven't spoken since then, and I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to repair our relationship. So, am I the asshole in this situation? On one hand, I feel like I was justified in speaking up for myself and setting boundaries. But on the other hand, I'm worried that I hurt my sister's feelings and damaged our relationship, especially during such a sensitive time in her pregnancy. And now, with my demand for payment, I'm worried that I came across as greedy and selfish. AITA? AITA for enforcing a boundary that may cause my fiancé's family to miss our wedding? Not the a-hole, fiancé, M25, and I's, F22, wedding is soon. Fiancé is close with his nana and mom, they mostly raised him. Mom is disabled, it's progressive. She's reliant on nana, including for decisions. Nana has caused a few issues during planning, but I'll focus on the main one. TLDR at the end. My fiancé's cousin got married last week. His mother and nana had to travel and stay overnight for the wedding. Fiancé went but I was unable. Nana decided to bring mom's dog and leave him in the car for the wedding and overnight, which upset us. She said that she will do this for our wedding too. Fiancé and I discussed and agreed not to allow this. Especially since she wants to travel for our wedding over a few days and the dog would be left alone for at least 3 days as a result. Fiancé called nana and told her that we prefer it if she made alternative arrangements for the dog. This was 2 days after cousin's wedding. She called 10 minutes later to say she was offended and we'd need to find another way to get mom to the wedding because she wasn't coming. Fiancé was devastated. We left it for 2 days and tried again. Before fiancé could bring the dog up, Nana went off saying she was ashamed of him, that he would think she would be unkind to the dog. He chose to pick this fight close to the wedding and she's had a rough year. We again left it. We spoke with BIL, M22, and his wife, F23, who have also been talking to Nana. They agree that leaving the dog in the car is risky and cruel. Nana spoke with BIL a few times and said that she won't change her mind. BIL plans to visit Nana to speak in person. 2 days after fiancé last spoke to Nana, fiancé's uncle called, said we shouldn't have expressed our opinion and Nana has been through a lot. Uncle said that he can transport mom but can't do her care. So if Nana doesn't come, mom probably won't be able to. Fiancé is devastated. I still feel leaving the dog in the car is wrong. I don't think I'm TA, but the conflict is getting to me. TLDR, fiancé's nana wants to bring dog to wedding and leave him in the car. Fiancé and I said she needs to get the dog cared for properly. She is now saying that she won't come to wedding, which may also prevent fiancé's mom from coming. His family are spilt on the issue. AITA for enforcing this boundary? ETA, I'm sorry this is so hard to read. I was emotional writing this and got super caught up with the character limit. I have edited for clarity. Edit, we have offered many solutions for the care of the dog. He was from a rescue who offered to care for him if they ever went away. We have suggested the rescue, boarding, pet sitters, pet-friendly hotels and friends in the area. All suggestions are shot down and ignored because Nana insists that he was fine when she left him in the car at the other wedding.